meeting on May 11th, 2026 at 5:03. Okay. Trustee Belundas here. Trustee Santangelo.
Here.
Trustee Segura.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Also present, Trustee Narayan, Trustee Fosco, and Trustee Pesco. All right. Any public comments?
There's none up there.
All right. The director's report.
Okay. Everybody should have in front of them the budget book. It's done in two pieces, summary and detail. We're going to go through the summary part. If we need to refer back to the detail section, we will. I included an insert, a little cheat sheet that summarizes everything even more. Again, some of it I discussed at the March meeting. The budget is the budget that we did, and the philosophy and the format we did is quite different than what goes on at libraries and government and other municipalities. I focus on three different pieces to make sure that each one is basically linked to each other to prove out the numbers that we're asking for. So the first portion is our budget to budget, which you're going to see on here on your summary sheet, and we're going to go through details on line items or high line items on it. The next thing I want to clear up is I talked a lot about actual budget, and I had stated last month that we had a $200,000 variance that we're running under. To understand finance, you could be under budget, but you could also be losing money theoretically on an income statement portion. The question is what is a budget? A budget is basically a set of goals of what you anticipate that you might spend. Now, through the years, you might make adjustments in some of those expenditures, much like what we did. We did a forced adjustment back in May. That's why you'll see on this budget how we're running. Our budget is decreased from one year to the next. So on an operational, again, is how we compare. One thing you know about what I like to do is how do we know how well we're doing unless we compare ourselves to someone else, other libraries that are comparable to us. And through the analysis that I did, you're going to see some interesting fact about where this library is amongst 51 libraries. How are our tax dollars compared to what we take in and what we spend to other comparable libraries? So overall, the main change in our budget this year is that we're going to increase 6.6% in our tax dollars. That means the dollars that we're going to receive from the taxpayers and from the village is 6.6 more than last year. But overall, the appropriation, we're reducing by 6%. Now, appropriation is the recommendation of what you're going to spend. You have to appropriate to be able to spend the dollar. The reason that has gone down drastically is our building fund has depleted to zero. Now, it's always anticipated that the difference from the income from the expense, the delta gets to be applied to the reserve fund. We no longer have the reserve fund. It's because over the last 3 years, we've made consistent improvements other than the building that the auditors come in and they say, okay, you did this with the building and you improved your networking, certain items on networking. So there's a whole list of breakdown what gets applied to the building fund. Right now, we're at zero. Until we still start up building up our reserves, the number will be zero. The impact to us is really nothing because we continue spending what we spend to operate the library. So that makes up the 6%. Now, we're a break-even. Libraries and government, your revenue has to equal your spends. So on our expense side, as you'll see, we're going down 6%. Again, that's just a reflection of the building fund. We appropriate, say like we did in the past, 300,000, 320,000, and we would have an offsetting or pass-through expense of 320,000. We don't have the revenue, so we don't budget the expense or appropriate. So if you really look at it theoretically and you take the $320,000 out, we're basically increasing our costs $130,000 from the prior year. When you really want to look at apples to apples. Now, when we look at salaries, the category of total employee related expenses, we're actually going down 60,000. The 60,000 does reflect the raises that the employees got on May 1st. So we're doing better. We reduced from the prior year, and going forward, we're showing a decrease from the prior year of 60,000. Books, we're not showing any change. We're going to be consistent on that. Marketing and materials have gone down, and that's reflected that we no longer send out the calendar. And what we do in replace of that is our social media presence and flyers and pamphlets and everything that we do internally here at the library. All right. So on the programming expenses, now that you know what, that's the biggest draw to the library for us. And a couple things that I'm looking at from changing one year to the next is we have room to increase in adult programming, and to do that, we think that some of the adult programming could be done by external experts to what the village patrons want to learn, something out of our realm of expertise. The community program are, again, things that go on in the village that we do coincide with them, like Touch a Truck and so forth, which we hope to expand this year with summer reading, summer kickoff, but any large event, we plan to increase there. The equipment leases, you're seeing that it goes up 3.8. Basically, that's our incurred expenses from the prior year with a slight increase for inflation. The most difficult one is in our total operating, but we talk about the computer software and network. Those expenses we see as staying about the same. The maintenance of the building is part where the building fund reserve dollars were part of. We anticipate we'll have expenditures of about $150,000. Every day it seems like something else is going wrong in the building or has to be repaired. Recently we had the bathroom, leaks in the bathroom, the tile, the plumbing behind the walls were leaking. We had to get a lot of that replaced. One, I can tell you for the reason is that shutoffs. I don't know much about plumbing, but I do know shutoffs for your bathroom and toilets should be outside, not behind the wall. So we had to have that worked on and some work on our tile. And we do anticipate now with the some of that money may be used toward the improvements that once we receive the $210,000 funding from the state for the expansion upstairs. Equipment repair is we really didn't have any. It usually falls under a building account. Telephone and communications pretty consistent, along with the utilities. General insurance. We're pretty happy, and our vendor does a lot of work for other libraries. They're well regarded in their business, and their fees do not go up that much. Our legal services, our appropriation for last year was basically a consistent number from the prior year. So this year reflects more of an accurate midpoint of what we anticipate for expenditures on the legal fees. Consultant fees are staying consistently the same, along with supplies and offices and everything. The contingency, a lot of budgets have it. I haven't had it in. It's been in before, but this is a placeholder for unexpected expenses that might happen. All right. Again, we have fees. We anticipate a slight increase, and that has a lot to do with our services for banking, for our not our accounting services, but for the accounting software application that we have. So overall, if I'm looking at the budget, or the village is looking at a budget, I'd be pretty happy if you're showing me that you're decreasing 194,000 1 year from next. It's never happened before. I think it's a strong budget, attainable, and definitely manageable. So that's basically a synopsis on it. Now, what I'd like to talk about now is operational performances that tie in what I had explained to the village. If you remember, if we go back 3 years ago to 22-23, we did a total of 481 programs. We're up around the 1,200 mark. We're reconciling the numbers for this past year. So in a few weeks, we'll have accurate, exact numbers, because those numbers will be applied for the IPLAR reporting. Couple things on that is that we've had some questions about, we need more team programming, which we always need more of anything, and more cultural program. So we've done an analysis on that, and we're actually showing that we're far exceeding the other towns around, Rolling Meadows and LaGrange, and I believe Bedford Park. But we do need to increase. We need to try to get the teens in here for more than P&G and more technical. So the strategy of what we're doing now is we're nurturing them as they're young, get them to enjoy the library. We're using more of the virtual backpack, and we're doing more of the promoting as they're down in the teen library, what P&G offers. Any questions so far? Okay, one of the charts that I kind of mentioned before, if you go back, you can see a lot of yellow in the book. It's after the wording. This is how our library measures up on the levy. And you can see out of 51 libraries, we're at the bottom. And if you look on the far right, I've calculated out how much per household. We're at $181. If you look, Park Ridge is at $881. Oak Park is $545. You have Arlington Heights. These libraries. I want to make sure they're not doing anything wrong. They have outstanding libraries and they offer outstanding services. We're not in that position, and right now we've benefited a lot over the last 3 years by what the village has given us. Because, by law, overall, the village cannot exceed 5% on the levy. So you can see the number that they gave us. They gave us a portion of their levy. But still, the point is just a good reference in, are we, how do we rate in the use of tax dollars? Are we wasting tax dollars? By looking at this chart, I don't think so. You can see how the numbers are. Any questions on this one? And I'll tell you, the reason I did it per household, because you're going to see some of the levy numbers are smaller. So how do you measure all the libraries together? You find a common denominator. So I was able to pull the household numbers, so we use that as an algorithm. Okay, yeah. So the rest of the package basically gives you a breakdown and gives you a percentage, nice charts, a little bit more in detail of everything. You know, it gives you the tax levy comparisons between neighboring towns. Yeah. You know, and then in the back is a month over month view. Now the status of the budget with the city, with the village. The village will approve this budget July. I had one question to him. One of the problems in doing a budget in February, March, and April, come July 1st, employees can change or add to their medical insurance, and you can see how much medical insurance is. So we've had a couple people wanted to add, and I sent a note to the village, and we're waiting. We had the same scenario last week, and the village was able to give us $79,000 more. I can only estimate how much the insurance goes up. Some years it goes up 18%. I mean, we just don't know. It's a situation that every community has to deal with, is the rising costs. So hopefully I'll hear back from them prior to our meeting, and then we could go into the process of approval. Attorney Tom, if let's just say hypothetically that the amount on here changes by 50,000, do we need to? Can we approve with the change of 50,000 in the certificate and in the levy amount that I asked the board to?
The village does the levy.
I know the village does a levy, but I have a certificate.
You do a request to the village for the amount that you.
Right.
determine you need. So
Right.
That's what this.
Exactly.
process should be.
Exactly. There's two forms that we do every year. But I don't have amount if it's a different amount. My point is if it's a different amount that's in this book, highlighted in the book that we've reviewed. I mean,
If the board approves a number tonight, then yes, it has to approve it. If
Any
that
change.
changes, then it
Okay.
should come back in front of the board.
right. Can it be in front of at the general meeting?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
but you can't, in my opinion, you couldn't just say the board approves $1
Right.
million and then somebody goes and says, well, let's make it $1.5 million.
Yeah, right. No, I understand.
Whatever.
I understand. Hopefully we get back and, you know, I anticipate, and I'll mention, I anticipate we might have another meeting when we're able to have a building meeting. So maybe at that time we just have two meetings. And that would be prior to the general meeting, so it would be a special meeting. But, review the package. If there are any questions afterward, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Any other comments? Nope. All right. The next thing is the unfinished business. In our packet, we have the approval of the February minutes. That's been already approved.
Correct.
And we don't have the March minutes to approve. But I would like to ask for a motion to approve the 25-26 budget.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
will-
second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I think you're approving the motion for the levy and appropriation request based on what.
Okay, so we're not approving the budget, we're approving
Right,
the request.
right, because I think they will approve it, you're approving it to go on committee for the full board.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You have a voice vote, okay?
We have to what?
Voice vote, money,
Money.
roll call.
All right, roll call. Trustee Belendes, yes. Trustee Santangelo?
Yes.
Trustee Segura?
Yes.
Motion passes. Any new business? There's nothing else to discuss? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.